JT Show.
What's going on, you sexy beasts, and welcome to another episode of the Smash JT Show, my weekly episodic adventure talking about divisive issues in the video game industry and beyond sometimes. It airs every Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and without further ado, let's just jump right into it. And this week has to deal both with the video game realm and industry and real life. We're going to talk about Telltale Games. Yes, I know a lot of YouTubers already have talked about this to death, and a lot of people probably don't want to hear about it anymore, but it's taken yet another turn, and if this were TV, it would be a soap opera. General Hospital, it would last forever. Telltale Games, best known for games like The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us. They also did the Back to the Future game way back in the day. Lots of fun, animated style, new cel-shaded graphics where it was very different than anything else I'd played up to that point, and the story-driven mechanics of them really set them apart from a lot of other competitors. The problem I had with Telltale Games, first off, is they all seem to run together. Now, I know they all have different stories, but the cel shading, the graphics, the story-driven content, the choices you make, and how it doesn't really necessarily impact the end game whatsoever, it got dry for me rather quickly. It didn't mean that it was bad, it just means I would rather be watching a movie or playing a different video game than taking my time with these Telltale games. I know not everybody may agree with that stance, and that's fine. There are games for everybody out there, and that's why I enjoy the video game industry as it is. We're living in the golden age of games, and there are tons of games available for anybody's interests out there, and Telltale Games is no exception. The problem comes in with what they did to their employees. Basically, they closed up shop without any warning whatsoever. People showed up to go to work that day. They're working on the third episode of The Walking Dead, and it's nearly complete. They show up, and they're given their paycheck for the day, and no severance, no information, nothing about what's going on with Telltale Games, and they're sent packing. They get an hour or two to pack up their desk, and they're gone. Coming from me, who has previously worked in the video game industry, it's not really surprising. To be honest, this is commonplace, unfortunately. And I can't help but think, being an employee at Telltale Games, that they didn't see this coming in some way, shape, or form. And I don't mean like rumblings or things like that, but when I was working at Sony Online Entertainment, before that kind of flipped upside down and got sold off to a different studio, I kind of saw the writing on the wall. And there was no email chain, there was no this is what's going on with the company type thing. I just felt it from the games I was working on, that they weren't something of such a gigantic magnitude that it would also carry the company along with it. They were kind of time fillers until they found something that could actually carry the company, and ultimately never really did find anything to fill that gap after EverQuest and, to some extent, EverQuest 2. When it comes to working in the video game industry, it's a very dog-eat-dog world, and they treat the employees basically like crap at the end of the day. Like, yes, the every day-to-day work at the companies is great. They treat you very well. You have a lot of fun working there. But they chew you up and spit you out. When they don't need you anymore, they cut you. I used to work at a recruiting agency working to find temp employees to test video games, developers, artists, anything I could find to actually help put together a game. But then when that game was completed, they just let them go or transferred them to another project, dependent on a whole bunch of different situations. But the video game industry is kind of a unique beast where it's in the entertainment industry. It's not necessarily you go in and do a 9-to-5 job working at a desk and push papers, or you work at a phone center and answer calls all day and that job's always going to be there for the most part. No, the video game industry is very topsy-turvy. You may not have a job tomorrow every single day that goes by. It's a scary proposition, even if you're a full-time employee. So, with all that being said, that's why I say, being an employee at Telltale Games, I can't help but think that they saw this coming. That does not excuse Telltale Games whatsoever for treating their employees the way they did, but it does kind of explain how it happened. Now that we're caught up on what's going on with Telltale Games at that point, there's been an update to the situation. Initially, they laid everybody off, 90% of their workforce. So, yeah, pretty much every vital piece of Telltale was gone. And then there was rumors that they were working on selling off the license to have somebody else finish the game. And then the internet exploded. Nobody was on board with that whatsoever. Everybody on every forum that I could find was saying, we don't care about The Walking Dead Season 3. We want to know if these employees are going to get their paychecks or not. You can't just treat people like this. You can't just cut them and then find somebody else to finish the game and make money off of that after all the blood, sweat, and tears and lost hours that go into making these games. Trust me, I know there's a lot of time, family time gone, life gone, working, all their energy put together on these games. And then to walk in one day and be cut is tragic. So based off the forum posts, I'm starting to wonder if Telltale saw that this wasn't going to be a good change for the company and wanted to take it a step further now, and that is find another company to finish making The Walking Dead Season 3, which is basically complete from what all the insiders are saying, and then also finish the Season 4 game to complete the series. They want to hire back as many of the previous employees from Telltale Games that were let go to that company that's going to be finishing the game. And it's just mind-boggling to me, completely perplexing. They fired everybody that fateful day they walked in, and their life changed for good. You can't tell me Telltale Games did not see the writing on the wall. Upper management did not see the finances and put it all together and say, hey guys, we won't be able to make it past a month from now based off the finances we have. The only thing that I could probably guess was going on is behind the scenes they were working on a deal with another project that possibly fell through. So because that fell through, all the incoming finances that they would have had to be able to pay off finishing the Walking Dead series was gone. But you shouldn't have to rely on a backroom deal with another company working on another game to finish a present game that you're working on. If anything, and this is going to sound really harsh to say, but with The Walking Dead Episode 3 so close to being completed, they probably should have rushed it out and done post-game updates to finish it off, if this was going to be the result of it. Now, I don't necessarily ever want that to be the case with any video game company, but at the same time, based off of the response of what's happened and firing all these employees at Telltale Games, it would have probably been the better decision. They could have made some money back, recuperated a lot of their lost cost on paying all the employees up to that point of making the game, and then been able to pay them some more to finish working on that game and move forward on the next Telltale game. The problem I have with all of this is what I said at the very beginning of this video. For me personally, Telltale Games were dry. They're very fun, adventure, story-driven games, but at the end of the day, they all kind of mesh together. Yes, they're very different stories, but the way they play, it felt like the same game every single time, no matter who the characters were, no matter how they colored the backgrounds, the way the story-driven content worked, the way the decisions didn't really affect the gameplay like you thought it would. It left a very hollow experience, and I think ultimately that's why people stopped buying these games. So yes, they could have rushed out episode 3 of The Walking Dead and hopefully recuperated some costs, but they probably saw that these game sales were dwindling because people were getting so bored and sick of what they were doing repetitively every single time they came out. Fast forward to right now though, as far as how Telltale is working with trying to find somebody else to pick up the rights and licenses to finish The Walking Dead Episode 3 and complete Episode 4, there's a lot of work to do between here and there, and every day that goes by is less of a chance to get the group of employees that were working on this back to working on it again. Not to mention all the costs that's going to be taken with starting them new, getting the computer system set up, focusing on how to finish what they were working on, and cohesively creating the teams on who's going to be doing what with so many people that have already moved on to other positions based off of losing their job without any kind of severance a couple weeks ago. The reason I bring all of this up though is it is a very divisive issue for the video game industry at large. Are you okay with Telltale Games letting everybody go because they ran out of money and It's a business, and that's how business works, which sounds really harsh, but is the reality of the real world. If a business runs out of money and they can't pay you anymore, they need to let you go. It's not just the video game industry and not necessarily restricted to the entertainment industry. That's real life business. If a company doesn't have the money, they're gonna let you go. So you can't really be mad at them from that perspective. Or are you in my camp where Telltale Games should have seen the writing on the wall, should have kept their employees informed of what was going on, and definitely should have had some sort of severance package ready for them when they were letting them all go? Because the way they seem to have treated all their employees that put so much time and effort into these games, it's just wrong on such a basic core human level that it really turns my stomach. And with that being said, I want to move on to this week's smashing video of the week, and it's brought to us by Retro Revolutions. Jared over there, who works on changing up these consoles and portable systems, that's why I have the Lynx here, he actually modded a Lynx, took this thing apart from the inside out, and put it into an actual Atari that will actually play the Lynx cartridges on the TV. This is mind-blowing stuff. Very professional, fun edits, amazing synth music. He really knows his stuff and does an excellent job breaking down how he goes about modding a console, in this case a portable unit, to make it a console, and do it so spectacularly that it's something that definitely needs to be shared with the world. If you're not familiar with Retro Revolutions, definitely check him out. If you enjoy what he's making, hit him up with a sub. And that's where I'm going to leave this week's episode. Again, I want to say thank you so much to all the Patreons who consistently support this channel on a monthly basis. If you're interested in joining them for as little as $1 per month, hit that Patreon link that just showed up right there in front of you, and it would mean the world to me. If you haven't already, you enjoy the content I'm making, hit that subscribe button, and if you missed last week's video, I'll put it right there. Thanks again so much for watching, and as always, you stay sexy.